The gang are in an Arabian nation, having intercepted a ransom note that demanded $100 million or the nation's oil fields would be destroyed, oil being the backbone of their economy. Not a bluff either, as a field goes up in smoke as they're talking. The nation's ministers come together in the aftermath to discuss what happened. Hassan, the defence minister, shows them a bottle of pills that one of the workers was taking. They're activated by a detonator, making the worker a living bomb. Dark. The prime suspect is Lawrence III, and a reminder that other descendants besides third generation will appear in the series. The king arrives to suggest their pay. Yes, the gang in disguise. Zenigata's tracked them down, but loses them in a marketplace. He finds a shopkeeper tied up who tells him they stole some women's clothes and ran. Zenigata finds a group of women that are actually women, receiving punishment while the gang slip away. After a brief history on Thomas Edward Lawrence, we see the ministers head out to the meeting point. They meet with Lawrence's right-hand man Ali, and Lupin intercepts. Jigen disarms Ali in the ensuing shootout, and he and Lupin take him hostage. Hassan counters and demands the money for himself, revealing he's Lawrence III. Lupin complies, placing a tracker on one case. Lawrence tricks Lupin into swallowing one of his bomb pills to keep him from following. Jigen and Goemon's method of extracting the pill doesn't work, so Lupin tries a more traditional method. Thankfully this works, and Lupin uses the tracker to find Lawrence. Zenigata's tracked them down again, but they manage to get by thanks to his previous beatdown. Fujiko poses as a dancer for Lawrence's group, and later meets with Lawrence in his tent. The rest of the gang attack, but Lawrence knew of their plan and has them captured for execution. Fujiko talks her way out of it to the others' chagrin, and they go back to Lawrence's tent. Lawrence reveals he's not actually descended from Thomas Edward Lawrence, calling his men foolish for believing him, unaware that two men overheard him. Fujiko mixes up a cocktail of sleeping pills and the bomb, telling him they're performance enhancers and allowing her to take the detonator. As she leaves, Ali demands she hand over the detonator in exchange for freeing the others. As the gang lament the loss of the money, the bomb is activated, striking oil for Ali's group and blowing the money in the gang's direction. I think sometimes it's easy to forget that despite his cheerful disposition, Lupin's not a good guy. This episode reminds the audience of that, with them willing to leave a nation's economy in shreds if it means they can get their hands on money. Entertaining episode, but just something to keep in mind, I guess. Despite what you might be thinking, especially as I said there was a movie parody in this set of episodes, this is nothing to do with the Marvel property. Like I said back in the first Series 1 video, Lupin's more into DC. Plus, how can it parody a movie made 40 years in the future? This is a parody of the Pink Panther, the movies rather than the cartoons. Given that series' origins as a gentleman thief versus a bumbling detective, probably also an influence for Lupin too. The Black Panther is an emerald that shows a panther when you shine a light on it in the right way. Completely different from the Pink Panther, because that's a diamond. Lupin steals it as a birthday gift for Fujiko and hides it in the statue of the non-thinker, planning to grab it when things die down. Back at the hideout, Jigen warns them that Inspector Kanaizo, an expert on the Black Panther, is assigned to the case. Kanaizo meets with Chief Shakil, and Zenigata also joins the hunt in a contest of detectives. Zenigata searches the city while Kanaizo heads to the museum. He's joined by his assistant Hageto, based on Clouseau's assistant Kato Fong, but in their play fight they break the non-thinker. Meanwhile, Lupin and Jigen pose as cleaners to steal the emerald, but it's not in the statue's hand. Back at their hideout, Jigen discovers that a large package was transported in and out of the museum by Hageto. They follow Kanaizo, who heads to an art dealer looking for Hageto and the broken statue. Zenigata finally finds the gang just as they leave, following Kanaizo out to a nudist beach. Hageto leads Kanaizo to the real non-thinker, but he's distracted by Shakil, also at the resort. Lupin arrives and steals the statue, while Jigen handles Hageto. Zenigata lands on the island just as Lupin is about to escape. Lupin has Goemon slice the statue's hand off and smashes the statue over Zenigata. He grabs the emerald, but Zenigata cuffs him, losing his grip as the emerald bounces along, like a panther I guess, eventually landing in a pool. Unfortunately for everyone, it's a women-only pool. The gang search after hours but find no sign of the Black Panther. Kanizo appears and gives them the emerald, but the panther doesn't appear in the light. Kanizo laments its death due to drowning. Yeah, I don't know either. And Goemon destroys it. The gang surprise Fujiko with a birthday party, but she's going on a date with Kanizo, who gave her the real Black Panther as a present. Unfortunately for her, Hageto's antics on the date cause her to drop it as it springs back to life again. After the last episode, this one veers much more into wacky comedy. Not a bad one, but I feel like there could have been more potential with stuff like Zenigata's rivalry with Kanizo, as it seems to be put to the wayside after their initial encounter. Also a bit of a missed opportunity on Yuji Ono's part too, as he doesn't have any Henry Mancini inspired musical stings in this episode. I suppose if this were a movie he might have actually composed some. A wealthy couple is holding a party, with the wife showing off a special ring that doubles as a safe, made by the renowned safe constructor Marukin. One of the guests turned out to be Lupin, who cracks all the Marukin safes and seduces the wife. News spreads and Marukin faces bankruptcy due to returned merchandise. As a last-ditch effort, he puts forth a challenge to crack his 10-year vault that only opens once a decade, housed in the Mitsubishi Bank. Zenigata meets with the manager and Marukin, but the safe has already been broken into. Marukin leaves disgrace and Zenigata is dismissed, only for it to then be revealed that the manager was a disguised Lupin. They placed a full store over the vault and decided to wait for the safe to open on its own timer. Meanwhile, Fujiko is followed by Marukin's son, Jotaro. With that lack of hair, no way is that a JoJo reference. Jotaro meets with Lupin and challenges him to crack his own safe, providing some incentive in the form of steaming him into a nothing. Lupin refuses, so he changes tactics, cuffing Fujiko with his handcuff safe. Lupin tries to open them without the key, but Jotaro slips poison into his drink, causing Lupin to finally accept due to the antidote being in the safe. They drive out to the safe, an egg shape that Jotaro says can be opened with one easy method. Jigen and Goemon's favoured methods don't work, and Lupin has no luck either, especially with the poison setting in. As a last-ditch effort, he yells out the Japanese equivalent of open sesame and the safe opens. Jotaro congratulates Lupin, but Fujiko compliments his ability, and Lupin admits to the gang he might not have been able to crack the 10-year vault on his own terms. Quite a slow episode this time round, which I suppose makes sense given the last few were quite high action in comparison. One thing that's noteworthy here is that we do get an admission from Lupin that even he has some challenges that he might not be able to conquer. Zenigata is driven to Danshinen Castle, where General Hess is in a stakeout with Lupin and Fujiko. The trouble started when Lupin set his sights on Führer Huttler's ruby medal. The wind knocked his aim off and he ended up hooking onto Huttler's toupee. The humiliation is grounds for death and Lupin is shot down. An injured Jigen is taken to safety, but Fujiko stays behind to help Lupin. Zenigata asks for 4 men to bring in Lupin peacefully, while Jigen and Goemon dig underground for a route inside. No luck on their part as they dig straight into a prison cell. Zenigata moves on Lupin and Fujiko, but they're just decoys and the soldiers are thrown out. Zenigata tries to get Lupin to come peacefully, but Lupin would rather go down dramatically, and Zenigata joins the soldiers outside. Hess orders 3 of the elite commando to infiltrate just as Lupin asks for Fujiko to go free. Despite the signal, Fujiko is attacked and Lupin takes out one of the commandos. The shootout continues and Lupin takes out the remaining 2, but is hit in the leg as the last commando goes down. Huttler, who's been doing whatever this is throughout, puts forth the order to dispatch tanks to demolish the castle. Hess gives Lupin until dawn to come down peacefully. Jigen and Goemon, meanwhile, have been putting a balloon together from some hijacked sheets. Jigen is worried they'll be shot down, but Goemon has a plan in mind. The sun rises and the tanks attack. Lupin is down to 2 bullets, and he and Fujiko prepare for their final moments. They're interrupted by Jigen and Goemon coming to the rescue. Hess orders them shot down, but Goemon has painted Hutler's face on the balloon, meaning damaging it would be damaging their leader's image. We end on the gang recovering and Lupin's usual antics, getting him knocked down a hill and into Zenigata. Another case of the journey being the focus, as we know Lupin will make it out. Just a case of how they manage it. We also see another instance of Lupin and the gang's loyalty in the face of death here, especially as Fujiko could easily have run, but stuck with him to the end. Next time we get a bit more of a focus on Goemon as we head up to episode 24. Until then.